So we've seen how we can add different types of non-data items to a report, whether that's a horizontal line, a box, a text box, or an image. And what we can also do, just to be a little bit clever, is actually join non-data text box to a data box, which can prove extremely useful when you're trying to format a report to look just right. So we know we can stick a text box on, so we go for our text box tool, and in the report header, I'm going to add a text box that says today's date is, and let's just resize that box. And then we know that we can add a special field to get today's date. So I'll bring up the Field Explorer, down the list of special fields to the print date, and I can drag that into the report header, and I get today's date. Now, they are two distinct objects on my report, and if I want to move them together, I must select them both, shift click or control click, and then they will move together, and I can put them as close as possible to make them look like they read together. And where the cleverness comes is if I can take this data field and actually drop it into that text box, so then to all intents and purposes it acts as one object. That would be useful. Well, in order to do that, the first thing I need to do is actually make this text box a little bit bigger. Then come across to here and grab today's date and effectively move it until you can see how it wants to go in there, and I let go. And it's dropped the data field inside the text box. This is now one object. Now, it hasn't done the correct spacing, but I can alter that. If I double click, I end up back in this text box, and I can put a space between the is and the field, the data field there called print date. Click out, and it produces the print date. So if I make that a little bit wider, just so that when double click in, I can see it's putting the print date special field actually inside the text box. So that's now one box. Regardless of what the date will be, they will fit together with a single space between. So it's not going to look mismatched like I've stuck two data boxes next to each other. So you can do that all the time. So move that over there a little bit. And let's take another text field. Place it in the report header. And say number of pages, space. And then we'll bring the total page count as a special field into our report and drop it here into the text box. And you can see it then says total page count. When I click away, it says number of pages. Let's just size that a little bit bigger, just so that when we click in, you can see the name of the data field, total page count. But it's inside the text box. So that will now act as one object that I can move around and place anywhere I like on my report. So it's quite a clever little tool, that, the ability to drop fields inside text boxes. You're not restricted to just special fields as well, you can drop normal fields inside. So if I go into design, for example, and let's remove the gender field just for a second, and place a text box down here that says gender is. Make sure it's in the detail section, give it a little bit more width, and we'll drop our gender field into that. Gender, drag, drop into that. I haven't put a space in. So gender is gender. Click away, preview, and I see gender is 2, gender is 1, gender is 111, gender is 2. So I've placed the text box in the detail section, so that gets repeated for each detail section. And then within the text box, I've actually dropped a data field. And we can see that here. If I close the Field Explorer and just expand that a little bit, only so I can read it, gender is the gender field. So I've done the same here, done the same here. So you can see in design view, it shows the name of the field that you've dropped into the text box, as well as the text you've typed. Whereas in preview, it just shows you the data. Today is today's date, number of pages, and then gender is over here, 212121. It's an extremely useful little tool, that.